Welcome to the Mount Pleasant podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor, the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant podcast.
Are you ready?
Ooh, I know you see me standing here. Do I look good, my dear? Do I look good today? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm just another kind of girl, and you wanna see my world. So come and run away. If you wanna play, come and play today. Let's just get away. Yeah, I will make you see all the things that you can be. Believe in yourself, come follow me. Yeah.
And that woman coming across the Zipline has ziplined into the Mount Pleasant podcast. And I'm Brian Cleary, joined by the owner, Will Hankinson. Carrie, the Charleston Adventure Forest. That was very cool, very impressive zipline. If someone doesn't really know or understand what a zipline is or what you do in a zipline, how is it that you describe ziplining?
Oh, good gracious. If they don't know what a zipline is, well, we just explain what we do at Charleston Adventure Forest. And ziplining, we are in the low country, so there are a few, we call them problems, and our problems are 99 stairs to get our elevation. And we go up there, we have a lead guide, we have a sweep guide, and then our guests are sandwiched in between. And so we take the guest after we have ground schooled everyone and taught them everything that they need to know. We take them up, we harness them in, and that's where our adventure begins. But what it is just a cable, a really, really strong cable. And we tell like our little kiddos, I mean, it literally could hold a whole city bus full of people. And it's just one human zipping across, but it's a cable. We hook you in and just zip you from platform to platform.
It really seems like so much fun. I'm a guy who's never ziplined. I have no idea how it works. So when you're giving me that training, how long is that going to take before I'm actually up in the air?
Well, it depends on how many people obviously are in your group, but it's approximately 15 minutes worth of training. We explain all of your equipment. We explain how you're going to be braking. And at Charleston Adventure Forest, we hand brake. I mean, that's just putting pressure on the line behind our head. And so it's friction that breaks you.
Okay, so when you say handbrake, it's not like Fred Flintstone's feet on the bottom of the car. I'm not reaching up or doing anything like that. That's good to know. Now, you said 99 steps. So how high up am I going when I zipline at the Charleston Adventure Forest?
6 stories.
And how long will I be ziplining? How long does that zipline take me? How far?
So we have 7 different zip lines, and they range. Our longest is 750 feet, and it's a 50-foot vertical drop. So it's a lot of fun. Is
ziplining, would you consider this, obviously it's fun, it's adventurous. Yes. Is it also considered healthy exercise? Is it something good for physical fitness?
Definitely good for physical fitness. Absolutely. I mean, especially at our zip line, because you are climbing the stairs, you are maneuvering around trees and platforms and having to get yourself on the line and off the line. And then we have sky bridges, and that's balance and coordination. And so, yes, it's definitely exercise, the zip line. But then, and I know we'll talk about this later, but we have a rock wall, and that is clearly phenomenal exercise.
Yeah, there's more than just zipline at Charleston Adventure Forest. We're just focusing on that to start. And Carrie, what is it that went off in your brain that said, you know what, I want to own, and my family, we're going to own a place where people can go zipline? How did you get involved in it?
I get asked that question a lot. And really, my husband and my daughter drove past the zipline 3 years before it was for sale. He came home and said, I feel drawn to that property. Can't really tell you why. I just do, and I want to buy it. And it was not for sale. Fast forward 3 years, it did come on the market. My daughter, who you're going to speak with in just a little bit, was an engineer. She had her first baby, wanted to be able to stay home with her baby. She has a lot of animals, and we were looking for a place for all of those animals. Our son was in college at the American College of Building Arts studying blacksmithing. We were looking for a place for him to blacksmith. My husband and I are both adrenaline junkies. I was a gymnastic coach for years, and so it all just kind of fits. I mean, I really feel like being out at the Zipline and trying to encourage people to get out of their comfort zone, to challenge themselves, that they can conquer their fears, that they're really growing, whether you're an adult or a child, because we have zip lines for both, separate zip lines. It really just fit with our family.
And this is a family-owned business. And for folks who saw the introductory video, it does make a note there that you homeschooled 4 kids for 20 years. So during that time, obviously you were home a lot, but that's not all you were doing. So when you say an adrenaline junkie, give me an idea of, other than ziplining, something like that you've done yourself.
Oh, wow. Well, I am a scuba diver. Our family we just did an adventure vacation. We started out racing cars in Georgia, went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, went spelunking, went whitewater rafting. We went hang gliding. The air. I mean, we really enjoy. We love the outdoors. We love people. We love adventure. And yeah, we are a little adrenaline junkies.
My life is pathetic. Thank you very much for pointing that out to me, because I have done almost none of that.
I like that it's an honest, fair assessment of what's going on the Isle of Palms. Island Vibes.
Great newspaper by a great friend, and so glad he's published this, because we really need it. It's impartial, and it's just a great paper.
Island Vibes. It's honest, sincere, and factual.
Island Vibes is the deal.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
There's so much fun at the Charleston Adventure Park, and let's get into a little more of what you can experience there. I'm Brian Cleary. Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast. This is where the pages of Mount Pleasant Magazine come alive. Today, we're talking with the family that owns the Charleston Adventure Forest. It's just a short drive up Highway 17 up through Ondaw. It is a great place for family fun. And now we're going to turn to another member of the family who is part of the Charleston Adventure Forest. This is Brooke Bourne, another member of the family. Now, Brooke, first of all, at the Adventure Park, you're a guide. What is it that you do as a guide?
I do a little bit of everything out there. So I'm the on-site manager. I live there, work there every single day. But as a guide, I will take guests up into the trees, lead them through the course, and then bring them back down, debrief. And then we also will lead them through the rock wall and any other activity they may have booked, including our animal encounters.
Now, before we get to the animal encounters, I'm just curious, as you're a guide, you're taking people through the zip line. What would you say is the biggest concern or challenge that people have in terms of, all right, I'm going for the zip line, but I'm a little worried about, what might that be?
Height is the number one thing that people say. They'll come in and they'll be like, I really want to do it, but I'm afraid of heights. And I say, no big deal. Almost every single day, we have someone come in that's going, I'm afraid of heights. And if you can just be bold enough to take that first step and actually do it, 99% of the time, they are golden and they have a blast.
So Charleston Adventure Forest, zip line, rock wall, and they've got some animals. And from what I'm led to believe, these are your animals?
They are. So all of the animals out there are my personal animals that I brought out to be able to share with people. We have 3 alpaca, 2 miniature horses, 2 pigs, 4 goats, and then we are working on building our reptile house where I'm going to have over 100 different reptiles.
Now, that is really awesome. And those are great animals that people, I assume, can come out and pet and feed. Before they became part of the animal adventure at the Charleston Adventure Forest, tell me these weren't like in your backyard or sharing your bedroom or whatever.
So I did have some property before I moved out to the Zipline park. But yes, they were all at my house and my own personal pets just for me to play with.
And when I visit the Charleston Adventure Forest, the animals then are interactive. I can feed them and kids can have fun with the animals.
Absolutely. So we have cups of animal food. You can either just walk back there and look at them. And if they come up to the fence, you can pet them. You can get a cup of animal food that helps encourage the animals to come up to the fence, and then they can eat out of your hand. And then we have our animal encounters where you can actually go in with all the animals and get to pet on them, love on them, brush them, and learn a lot of animal trivia.
So for people to understand, when I come to the Charleston Adventure Forest, am I paying X amount for the zip line, so much for the animal encounter? How does it work in terms of your ticketing?
So we do have set prices for each activity. And then if you bundle them, there is a discount. And if you come in larger groups, there is also a discount.
So for someone who may be one of those people who go, oh, I don't really like the height thing, but I'd really love to bring my kids out for the animals, they can do that.
Absolutely. You're welcome to book any activity separately or together.
And I know this is a tough question because it's kind of like asking your mom which is her favorite kid, but of the animals that you have out there, who's the favorite or one of the favorites for you?
Okay, so it would probably have to be my miniature horse, Zippy. He is only 24 inches tall and he is full grown. To put that in perspective, our dog that we have out there, who is a livestock guardian, she lives with the animals. She is larger than the horse, and the horse is full grown. He's only a couple inches off of the world record for being the shortest. I can physically pick him up and put him in my car, and I'll take him out and about.
Man, that is awesome. So how do we come to that name for him?
So we wanted him to be the Zipline mascot, and he has tiny little legs. And so when he runs around, it just looks like he's zipping. And so we thought that Zippy would be the perfect name. And we did a naming contest, and that was one of the names that came up multiple times. And we just kind of fell in love with it.
They are her animals at the Charleston Adventure Forest. She is Brooke Bourne, one of the family members of this place that is just a great place for families, for groups, individuals to go have some fun up Highway 17 North in Mount Pleasant. It's one of the places that we love to highlight here on the Mount Pleasant podcast, where the pages of Mount Pleasant Magazine come alive. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by members of the Hankinson family. They are owners of the Charleston Adventure Forest, and another one of the owners is actually a blacksmith, and we've got to find out about that as we bring into the picture another member of the family at the Charleston Adventure Forest. Is this guy. We welcome Will Hankinson. Will, you're a blacksmith. Now, you realize it's the 21st century, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, because I was going to say that would get you women, in the 17th and 1800s. So how is it that you came about to having the skill of a blacksmith? Because one, unique. I can't imagine that's easy, but it's not something that everyone does in 2024.
Absolutely. So it is not a common skill that we have in this time period, as you are well aware. A lot of the goods that we have that's made out of metal are manufactured and you can buy online. So blacksmithing over time used to be a necessity. Every town, every village had to have a blacksmith. But in this modern era, you can buy things at Lowe's and Walmart. So blacksmithing, as it evolved through time, turned more into an art form and a way of teaching and spreading that knowledge and bringing that skill about. So how I started was an interest in fire, because I was a little boy around an adventurous family and I like fireworks and I like making stuff. I've always kind of been an engineer in my heart, but not on paper yet, maybe. So I would always build things, take things apart, put it together, make a whole lot of stuff. It formed into a passion for metal. And so then I was able to use that and learn how to blacksmith. I started out under a man named Michael Bronco. He is right down the road, actually, and he does his own camps and activities. So I started with him, and then I went to the American College of the Building Arts. It is a 4-year college, and it's the only college in the country currently that has a bachelor's degree and a trade-specific course. So I have a degree in architectural ironwork, which gives you training in blacksmithing. And then it also teaches you a little bit about the business side and other things and aspects of a college degree.
Can you give me an idea when you go to college for blacksmithing? I mean, is there horseshoe making 101? What kind of classes are you taking so that you're able to become an expert in this art?
Yes. So if you just Google modern blacksmithing, a lot of things that would pop up is one, horseshoes, which makes sense because that's still probably the most niche and specific part of blacksmithing that is still needed. Farriers are still needed for that. But the other part is knife making and bladesmithing. So those are two of the main common things that most people recognize and understand. But what they don't realize is traditional blacksmithing is still well and alive. It's much less and less specific and more of an art form, but it's still alive. And what I mean by that is making architectural ironwork like gates and chandeliers and sculptures and all that sort of things. You can also make just doorknobs, little hand pulls, bottle openers, everything from tiny little things to very large scale projects.
So when I visit the Charleston Adventure Forest with my family, what is it that my family and I can experience in terms of blacksmithing that you'll be able to demonstrate for us?
Yes, that's a good word to use, demonstrate. So we offer two different things. So we can do one, a demonstration, and that's usually reserved for big parties. So if you have a family that comes out and they're doing a birthday party, we can do a demonstration, and it would be cheaper for the rest of the group, and everyone kind of experiences it. Might be able to pull in a person and they'd be able to work a little bit with a heat or two and then kind of go back and just talk through and talk over the history of things. But then the other part is classes. So we'll be offering blacksmith classes that are more one-on-one or in a smaller group setting. We can't have the groups too big because we have to be very mindful of safety because it is still a shop. That's a very big priority for us. But you are able to actually work and learn about specific techniques. So it could be a range of different items. So you can make hooks, you can make bottle openers. It would be small items, but you can make those things and then take it home when you leave.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, obviously, it's going to be done in a safe scenario, but I'm always curious, as you're doing this kind of work, you're working with heat. Things are hot. How hot is that metal getting?
So the forge, we typically use a propane forge. It's a little bit faster for setup and going. You can also use a coal forge, but propane makes a little more sense. That forge typically gets to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. This is very hot, much hotter than your typical oven. And you get metal so hot that it's not quite melting, but it is glowing bright. And you're able to shift it and move it with your hammer. You can't physically touch the metal because it's too hot to do that, but it moves exactly like clay. Clay is iron wet by fire, or iron is clay wet by fire. So that's a pretty cool little thing, but yeah.
Certainly an amazing and a unique aspect in terms of the Lowcountry. Where else are you going to find this? But you'll find it at the Charleston Adventure Forest. Now, Will, you're also a guide. Can you run me through, because the one thing I haven't been able to touch on yet, the rock climbing wall. Your sister briefly touched about that, but talk a little bit about the rock climbing wall that's part of the Charleston Adventure Forest.
Yeah, so the rock wall is actually very cool. It is 65 feet in the air. Part of my job there is actually to maintain that. So that's pretty fun for me because I get to rappel and do all those things, which is a lot of fun because I like adventure. But it's 65 feet up, great exercise, very difficult for a lot of folks to do. But the ones that enjoy doing rock climbing and bouldering and all that sort of stuff, it is a blast. There's 3 different sections that you can do on the left, middle, and the right. There's different plane changes on the far 2 sides. And then in the middle, if you want to just go straight vertically up, you can as well.
Blacksmithing, rock climbing, we've got the animal adventure, and the Zipline. A lot for you, your family, your group to do at the Charleston Adventure Forest. It's what we're talking about here on the Mount Pleasant podcast. We always like to try to involve you and turn you on to maybe some new things that you haven't experienced yet. Highway 17 North is where you'll find the Charleston Adventure Forest. It's a family-owned business, and the woman who started our video by ziplining into our interview, let's bring her back a little bit, and we talk more with Carrie Hankinson, the owner, well, one of the owners of the Charleston Adventure Forest. So, Carrie, you mentioned the fact this is a family-owned business. You've got you, your husband, you've got Brooke, you've got Will. Now you have two other children. Are these the black sheep? What's going on with your other two kids?
No, definitely not. All four of my children are, in fact, guides.
Okay.
So, yes, my second to oldest child is also, you heard from Brooke, she was an engineer prior to coming to the Zipline. My second child is also an engineer. She is still an engineer, but she is a guide just on the side, but she recently had a baby. And then I have a 17-year-old that is a guide on our Kids Zip. And we do have adult canopy zip lines, and it's 7 zip lines and 3 sky bridges, but we also have a Kids Zip that is a totally separate course. And so Annalie is a guide on the Kids Zip.
That's a family you got to be proud of. A couple of engineers, you're tossing a blacksmith. And when we talk about kids at the Adventure Forest, we also talk about groups. And one of the things we haven't gotten into yet, and if you could expound on this, because I was a little bit surprised when I saw it on your website, but Bachelorette parties, Charleston Adventure Forest is a great place for them as well.
It absolutely is. We have a ton of Bachelor and Bachelorette parties. I mean, the typical traditional get together with the guys, get together with the girls, and go to a restaurant and, just have a good nightlife. Well, during the day, they're also looking for things. And so we are a little bit cooler temperature wise. I mean, we are under the canopy of the shades, and Charleston gets hot. So during the daytime, if you want to get out of the sunshine, come and do something fun outdoors, it's a little different. And so, yeah, I mean, we get a lot of groups that have a blast.
And beyond the Bachelorette parties on the older side, I have to think the Charleston Adventure Forest is perfect for a kid's birthday.
Lots of children birthday parties. We've got the Kids Zip that's designed for 5-year-olds through about 12-year-olds. And so, yes, a ton of birthday parties. And those kiddos can add the rock wall, they can add the animals, they can add the blacksmith, or they can just come and zip line. And then we also have a lot of adult birthday parties. And we had a couple even that came and celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. We do a lot of family reunions. We do a ton of team bonding, lots of things.
And so for somebody who wants to find out more, not only about the Charleston Adventure Forest, but specifically, hey, I've got a group, I want to do a team building exercise or birthday party, whatever it is, what's the best way for them to get that information? I would have to assume is it your website?
The website is a great place to start, just charlestonadventureforest.com, or you can give us a shout at 843-928-3ZIP.
And as a family-owned business, you've got all your kids working for you. Let's be honest, is there a time you have to play the mom card, play the parent card to get everybody in line?
Maybe that should have been a Brooke little question. I've homeschooled all of my kiddos. We have a fantastic relationship. And what I enjoyed most about homeschooling them was being with them. So it's a huge blessing that I get to have them out there working with us or working with me. And we really do have a great working relationship. That is not to say that I don't get the side eye from time to time. But we're really open about that. And my first priority is that our relationship stays strong. And if that was ever affected, then I would move aside. It's super important to me.
So at Charleston Adventure Forest, a great place for kids, for mom and dad, for families, groups, the whole deal. It's a great place to get that adventure, adrenaline rush. But you yourself, Carrie, you've talked about some of the things you did. What's your next thing that you'll do? Obviously, you're going to go beyond the zip line. What's that one adventure thing that is still has to be checked off of your card?
Oh, so my husband is a skydiver. And my daughter and my son are skydivers. I have not yet jumped out of an airplane, but that might be my next thing. Although I did go to hang gliding, they take you up behind an airplane, cut the line, and you glide down. But that's not the same as jumping out and pulling your own chute. So I think that might be it.
Wow, skydiving. Well, obviously you're in the right business then, running the Charleston Adventure Forest. So much adventure for little kids, teenagers, 20-year-olds, families, groups, the whole thing. You've got to check it out. Go to their website. And Carrie, thank you so much for taking the time and letting us know about this gem that is part of Mount Pleasant. We appreciate your time today.
Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
This is where it happens. The pages of Mount Pleasant magazine come alive, and we explore all kinds of different people, places, and businesses. And today, the Charleston Adventure Forest, a place that you need to visit. Thank you for joining me, Brian Cleary, today here on the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast, your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.